In the Haydn 104, part of the Eduqas A-level music exam, there's always a question that looks like this. 3 or 4 marks asking you to identify 3 or 4 things in a short passage of the given movement. This is the first of 7 videos showing you how to find 7 of the things they're most likely to ask you about. There are only 2 Neapolitan 6th chords in Haydn 104, so it's easiest to simply memorise where they are. The first is in the key of D minor, found on beat 4 of bar 15 of the first movement. The second is in A, found on beat 3 of bar 28 of the third movement. There's a bonus example in movement 2, bars 107 to 108, but it's debatable really whether this one should be classed as a Neapolitan 6th chord at all, and I'll explain in a little bit why that is. So there you have it. Just memorise those and you'll be ready for any questions about Neapolitan 6th chords in your exam. If you want to stick around now, we're going to look at how those chords actually work and how to spot them. Neapolitan 6th chords are predominant chords. This means that they're usually expected to come before a dominant chord, straightforward. They're chromatic, so they'll always contain a note that isn't in the key scale, and this will usually appear as an accidental in the score. They're found in minor keys more often than major. They have the 4th degree of the scale in the bass, and one of the other notes will always be a minor second above the tonic of the key you're in at that moment. So, to give you an example, if you're in the key of C minor, you'd expect to find an F in the bass, that's the 4th degree, and a D flat somewhere above it. That D flat is the minor second above the tonic C in this example. Those 2 notes are a minor 6th apart, and it's that 6th that gives this chord its name, a Neapolitan 6th. There's another note in the chord, a third above the bass note, but it isn't such a striking feature of the chord, so we aren't going to focus on it at all. Let's get all of this information to stick with one of the examples from Haydn now. The first example appears in the introduction to the first movement, which is in D minor. So on the 4th beat of bar 15, we find the 4th degree of the scale, G, in the bass, that striking minor second above the tonic, so this is an E flat, played by the second violins and the bassoon. It resolves to the dominant, seen very clearly in the bass, by way of a tonic chord in second inversion. That's a very common and perfectly acceptable way of delaying the arrival of the dominant chord, useful in your compositions as well. The second example is found midway through the second half of the minuet, this time in A. On the 3rd beat of bar 28 we find the 4th degree of the scale, this time a D, in the bass. And note here that it's played by the bassoon, the bass instrument of the woodwind section, rather than the cellos and double basses. The minor second above the tonic, this time that's a B flat, is played here by the first violins. This time it doesn't resolve to the dominant, so this is Haydn playing with our expectations. It's contributing to an overall sense of tonal instability. This section of the minuet has a transitional quality. It's slowly bringing the music back to the tonic key of the movement D major and the opening material. All of that happens at bar 35, so a few bars later. Finally, we have the more debatable example. Hopefully you can spot why this one doesn't work quite so well as the others. Again, it's during a transitional unstable passage, this time bars 107 to 108 of the second movement. The prevailing key is G major. That was established around bar 98. But this is destabilised by the use of a minor subdominant chord at 105. We then have, predictably, the 4th degree of the scale, this time it's C in the bass, the minor second above the tonic, so this time it's an A flat, in the violas and as part of an arpeggio played by the second violins. But it doesn't resolve to the dominant, and instead it arrives at a D flat major chord. Now D flat couldn't be further away from G major, and the music just sort of comes to a stop soon after, as if it's reached the end of a sort of tonal cul-de-sac. This could be interpreted as a Neapolitan 6th in G, but it isn't really clear that we're in G anymore. It could be chord 6 in first inversion in the key of C minor, but we've never really firmly arrived at that key either. Another interpretation is that it could be a dominant chord in first inversion in the key of D flat major, but you really need dominant chords to add a 7th to really clarify their function, and we don't get that either. This is just Haydn playing with harmony and tonality. It doesn't matter which interpretation you land on. The real point is the deliberate creation of ambiguity in the music. See the description below the video for links to my resources page, where you've got access to all exam past papers, mark schemes, and audio extracts, to my website, where you can make inquiries about one-to-one or group tuition, and there are also lots of links to other really good YouTube videos about Neapolitan 6th chords. If you found this useful, please consider liking and subscribing.